In this recording, I'm going to talk about how to merge to labels. When you do mail merge, you don't have to necessarily merge form letters. You can also create labels using it. It's another very common technique. In addition to that, you can create envelopes. I'm not going to demonstrate the envelopes because the process is very, very similar to what we're doing here. Normally, when I create a new mailing list, I start with a blank Word document. So I'm going to create a new Word document here. Nice blank one. But I'm going to link it to my data source. You can use one data source and link lots of documents to it. So I'm going back to my mailings, and the first thing we have to do is start a mail merge and say, I'm going to do labels. The dialog box pops up and says, what kind of labels do you have? And notice there's just a ton of them, right? Including the most common company for labels, and that's Avery. If we scroll down here, we should be able to find them. Avery US Letter is the one the book has you use, and they have hundreds. So how do you know which one to use? Well, the answer to that is to look on the box. Now I have a picture here someplace. Let me see if I can bring that up. Okay. And I think we can see that pretty good. Notice here's a sample cover for an Avery labels box, and it's got 5163. Those are the numbers. And that number should be in the list. Over here's one from Office Max. They have their own generic labels, but it says these are the same as the Avery 5395. So somewhere on the box of labels, sometimes it's on the back, you can see what kind of labels you've got. And then you make your choice from here. So I'm going to scroll through the 50s. Unfortunately, the box is very small, so it's kind of hard. And there were 56 13s and 56. I don't remember which one was in that picture, so I'll go look again just to prove that it should be there. 5163, okay. 5163, these are numerical. Actually, they're in alphabetical order because the long ones go in the middle there, but 5163, there they are. Book likes to use a 62 address label. These are shipping labels, so they're a little bigger. You don't get quite as many. With these small address labels, you get all kinds of them on a sheet, 2 inches high, 4 inches, and I believe that's 2 or 3 across. Click on OK. Microsoft Word wants permission to change your blank document into a document with mailing labels. And notice that now, which one did I pick? Doesn't look like the 5162s. So let's go back there and do that again. Labels. Yep, I picked the 53. I want the 60 or 63. I want the 62. And you'll see these are a little smaller. So I can get more on a page, and I don't need a whole lot more room than that. And now I have labels, and really all this is a table. Notice there's the button. If I click on it, it's Table Tools. This is just a table where each one of the cells is exactly the right size for a label, and there's the gap in between, and there's the margin at the top. And if you print these on labels, they print very, very well. Okay. So now I'm going to need some recipients. So once again, I'm going to go find my elephant data, and that should be on my desktop. And let's change this to list view so we can see things a little quicker. And here's my elephant data. Yes, I want the one worksheet that's in there, and now everything's lit up. Notice also that before I go into preview mode that every label has a next record button, next record, next record. When you do labels, each label doesn't show up on a separate page. Each label shows up in a separate cell, and so there's a special command here that we don't have to enter. Excel or Access Word does that for us automatically, inserts it in there. And now to keep things simple, in the previous recording I showed you how to create custom address labels. I'm just going to use the address block. I'm going to use the default name layout, and now I have an address block inside of my labels. Right? Looks like it's aligned to the left. And if I preview this, I get one. Where's the rest of them? Well, here's a very common mistake. When you bring in an address box, in order to get this address block to go into all the other cells, you first have to update the labels. Right, so I'm going to update the labels, and now there's an address block inserted after every next record. So it goes to the next record and gives me different people. Another thing I like to do with my labels, and the book doesn't cover this, though I do give you extra credit if you do it in the assignments, is I like to center these vertically. Some of these don't look too bad. The space on the top and bottom is pretty much the same, but Mary Smith here looks like she's up a little bit. Okay. And maybe we should just move those in a little bit. So I'm going to come back here to the address block, and I'm going to press the indent button on the home page to move my entire address over a little bit more. I don't want it centered, and we'll see why here in just a second. And then I'm going to go back to preview mode. Okay, and that's not bad, but notice that Mary Smith is still up a little bit too high. One of the reasons I've discovered about that is because there is actually a blank line hiding underneath here that's keeping this from being centered. If you turn on your paragraph markers, in this case, there is no blank line. Right? So they're fairly well centered. There's a blank line up here at the top. What's that all about? Let's get rid of that one. Oh, that one must have been the one. Oh, I haven't centered these vertically yet. No wonder they're not centered. I need to select my entire table. We'll go to the table layout and say I want to center these on the left. Okay. And now the Richard Rogers is centered pretty well. Okay, removing the paragraph marker is still important if it's there. Sometimes it's not there. If it's there, that can help align these, and notice that now Mary Smith looks like she's pretty good, but she's still got the blank line. I thought I removed it. I removed it on the master cell, but now I need to update all of my labels again for the new formatting. And now Mary Smith, everybody else, looks pretty centered. So that's vertical alignment. You use the table layout to center these up and down. You can also center them left and right. You can use this to line your labels just about any way you want to. One of the things the book doesn't tell you is you can also include clip art in here. I did this a couple of years ago with Christmas letters. I did these labels and I put a little Christmas logo over here. So let's insert a picture just so that we get the idea how to do that. And here's my table. I don't know if there's any pictures in the layout. Doesn't look like it, so I'm going to go to Insert, Pictures, and I have a file, the elephant logo that I saved on my desktop. There it is. And that's in there. Now what I'm going to do is move this so that it sits above the text, in front of the text. And then as I discovered is if I move this, notice how the address changes as well. It's kind of weird. Okay, but it works pretty well. I get the address lined up. Now my elephant is lined up. How come he's not on the other labels? Again, I need to update my labels. Now why did he take all the other stuff out? Let's do that one more time. Put all the elephants in, but where are all the people? That's weird. Didn't expect that to happen. I'm going to merge and see if my text shows up. There it is. It just disappeared temporarily. I'm going to turn off my markers so they don't distract me. And now I've got a logo, everybody's name, the addresses seem pretty centered, so all of that's pretty good. The only downside is on my merge document, notice I've got one called labeled 1 here. That's versus my labels main document that I haven't saved yet, and I better go back there and save it. But this is a merged document. There's no fields here. All the gray is gone. This is just data. Inside here, if I wish, I could delete just the elephants I don't need so that I don't waste ink printing those last couple of elephants. All right, so that's creating labels. I'm not going to save this. Again, I could, but I'm not going to save this, but I am going to save my main document here, and I'll just call it elephant main document. Where do you want to put it? Once again, on my desktop. Elephant labels main document. The book, again, puts main document in every file name that has fields in it, and I think that's a really good idea. So that's how you create labels. The fields, remember I turned those on. I think it was in the first recording. I went to Tools, Options, Advanced, and scroll down here, and my field shading is set to always. That way my fields are always gray. Normally it's set to only when you touch them, but I like to see where my fields are, and obviously they don't print that way, so it works out okay.